Internet Credibility, the sequel. Hello and welcome to part 2 of Internet Credibility. I'm the Los Osos High School library teacher, Daniel Bradford. Before you watch this video, make sure that you finish the first one, evaluating websites with CARP, and make sure that you take notes during that first video and during this one. You can also download the PowerPoints for both of these screencasts at the library website. Just click on the Research tab and then click on the Assignments link. When you click on that link, you can also download study and review guides that you can use for both screencasts. Topics that we'll cover in this screencast: databases versus search engines, which one is better for research? What's the definition of an expert? We need to know that when we apply the authority test for web credibility. What are the issues of copyright and citation that we encounter when we are using web resources? What are domain names and what can they tell us about websites? What's the definition of a website versus a web page? And what's the definition of a primary versus a secondary source? And we will also learn how to investigate internet hoaxes and rumors. And we'll learn about Wikipedia. Should we use it for research? And if so, when is it appropriate? First, let's review the CARP test: currency, authority, reliability, and purpose. These are the 4 tests that we apply to evaluate the credibility of any website. Currency asks whether or not the information is new enough for us to use. Authority asks whether or not the website content was created by an expert. Reliability assesses whether or not the website addresses all sides of an issue. And purpose asks whether or not the website was created for a good purpose, to educate and inform, or for a bad purpose, which would be to sell us a product or an idea. Just remember, in order for a website to have credibility, it has to pass all 4 of the CARP tests. If it fails even one of the tests, it's not a credible website, and you should not use it for research. So we basically have to use CARP because there are no publishing requirements on the internet. No one is required to pass a background check to make sure that they're an expert, and no one is required to use editors to independently verify the accuracy of information. So we have to do this ourselves by applying the 4 tests of CARP. Let's look at databases versus search engines such as Google, Bing, and Yahoo and see which one would be better for research. Databases are limited to subscribers only. The content has editors who verify the accuracy of the information, and the information is organized by subject. In other words, databases have credibility built in, and we do not need to apply the 4 CARP tests. By contrast, search engines such as Google, Bing, and Yahoo have information that's free to use, but they do not have editors reviewing that information, and the information is not organized by subject. So credibility is not built in when you find information through a search engine, and you do have to apply the 4 CARP tests. Let's look at some databases that are available to us. We can use Gale Student Resource Center or Salem Press. We can also use many more databases through the Rancho Cucamonga Public Library website if we have a free library card. You should always try and use databases first for several reasons. First, databases don't need to have a CARP evaluation, so this can speed up your research process by hooking you up with credible information. Databases also provide citations. That will also save you a step because you don't have to do works cited for the information that you find. So databases are a much more powerful way to do research, and you should always try to use those before you use websites. What about personal websites? Personal websites aren't intended to be research sources. They're not created by experts. Even if they pass currency tests, they almost always fail the tests of authority, reliability, and purpose. Don't use them. For example, this personal website fails the tests of authority and purpose because it's not intended as a research site. Do not use personal websites. Let's look at the definition of an expert, and we need to know this when we apply the authority test for web credibility. An expert has a college degree in the field and teaches or researches in the field. A master's and doctor's degrees are best for establishing expert credentials. A bachelor's degree with a teaching credential, which would be a BA or a BS, does establish you as an expert And so yes, the teachers at Los Osos High are experts because all of them have at least this qualification. Many teachers also have a master's degree in their subject, which would be an expert degree. Other expert degrees are MD, medical doctor, JD, lawyer, and a PhD in any field, science, literature, or history. Just remember, if you have a BA degree but you're not a teacher or researcher in the field, you are not an expert. And even if you have an advanced degree such as a PhD, you're only an expert in that field. It does not make you expert in other fields. Now let's look at a domain name. Domain name is the unique identifier of a website on the internet. Here are the roots of the domains, and it kind of tells us what the website is about. A .com is a commercial or private site. .net is an internet organization. .org is a nonprofit organization. And then those three in the yellow box, .edu, which would be a college or university, .gov, which is a government agency, and .mil, which is a branch of the military. Only the three domains that you see in the yellow box are restricted. In other words, anybody can get a .com, a .net, or a .org root for their internet address. .edu guarantees that you are looking at the website of a college, either a 2- or 4-year institution. .gov guarantees that you're looking at a government agency website, and .mil guarantees that you're looking at a military site. Not just anybody can get those. So you can use .edu, .gov, and .mil to establish authority and purpose. With .com and .net and .org, you have to be much more careful. Let's look at an example of a domain name from my own website. www.lohslibrary.com. The domain name is in between the www and the .com. It's LOHS Library. That's my domain name. And that is a unique identifier. I'm the only one on the internet who can have that identifier tag. Just remember, when you're using web resources, you have to cite everything that you use from the internet. That includes text, images, and audio and video clips. If you don't do these things, you are committing plagiarism. And plagiarism is bad. It makes people mad. Now let's look at website versus web page. You have to cite web pages and websites, but there's a little bit of a difference between the two. A website is an entire internet site. A web page is just one individual page of that site. So the definition of a website is that it's a collection of web pages. If you don't know what the address is of a web page, just click on the home button and that will take you home and you can see the website name of a web page. Here's an example. EPA.gov. This is a government website and we are looking at the website itself, EPA.gov. This is a web page, which is an individual page within the site, and I highlighted it in red. So this is a web page, an individual page in the website. If we were using this individual web page, what would it look like when we cited it? Well, according to MLA format, we would put the web page title first, then the website title, then date of publication, web, and date of access. So this is what it would look like. In yellow, we see the web page title. In red, we see the website title. And then, of course, the other information would be date of publication, web, and date of access. So when you find a credible website, you need to write down this information if it exists. Authors, if they exist, or if they are identified. The URL, even if you're not planning on putting it into the citation. That's so that you can find it later. The title of the web page, the title of the website, the date of publication, and the date that you access the website. Let's look at the difference between primary and secondary sources. A primary source is defined as a source created at the time an event happened by someone who witnessed or participated in the event. And a secondary source was something created after the event by a person who did not participate in or witness the event. Now here's an example of a primary source. An eyewitness account of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. That is a primary source because the person was there and either participated in or witnessed the event. Here's an example of a secondary source, a book about the Pearl Harbor attack written by someone who was not there. That's why it's secondary. The internet is full of believable hoaxes. For example, there's one going around right now that Facebook is giving away free BMWs. False. Where did I find out that it was false? I investigated it on Snopes.com. This is the definitive internet reference source for urban legends, folklore, myths, rumors, and misinformation. So go to Snopes.com if you ever want to check out an internet rumor. What about Wikipedia? Well, first let's define what Wikipedia is. A wiki is a website that allows users to add and update content on that site. That's both the big strength and the big weakness of Wikipedia. Anybody can put anything on Wikipedia. Notice that when you look at the entry for Chaffee Joint Union High School District, that when we see the history of the district, the schools, high schools, every entry there is editable. So anyone can go in there and edit the information about our district. Notice that Wikipedia does a disclaimer. They make no guarantee of validity. Wikipedia is an online open content collaborative encyclopedia. Please be advised that nothing here has necessarily been reviewed by people with the expertise required to provide you with complete, accurate, or reliable information. In other words, no guarantees means you have to approach Wikipedia as a research source with extreme caution. Here's some examples of articles that have been edited on Wikipedia. Senators Joe Biden and Dianne Feinstein's staff both edited their Wikipedia page. That's back when Joe Biden was the senator from Delaware. He's now the vice president of the United States. And Apple added negative comments on Microsoft's Wikipedia page. And Microsoft added negative comments on Apple's Wikipedia page. Now, can you ever use Wikipedia? Well, maybe. It's excellent for an overview or pop culture research. That's one way that I use Wikipedia as a librarian. I use it to get an overview of an issue, but I don't necessarily use the information in the Wikipedia article. So for example, if I were doing research on the Civil War, I might use a Wikipedia article as an outline for my research, not necessarily the content in the Wikipedia article. Let me show you a few reasons why I don't use Wikipedia as a research source. First of all, a lot of teachers say it's okay to use Wikipedia, but there's all kinds of warning signs. For example, this Wikipedia article about religion in Iraq tells you that it needs additional citations for verification. And it says, please help improve this article by adding citations to reliable sources. In other words, this is a red flag that you should not use this article for your research. Let's look at another article. This article on Luciano Pavarotti, the famous opera singer, has been locked due to vandalism. That means that many articles may be vandalized and you don't know about them. And this one in particular has been locked to everyone who is not a registered user. So that is another warning sign. Here's another article with a warning sign. This article on Imelda Marcos. Notice that it says this article or section is in the process of an expansion or major restructuring. So whenever you see one of these banners up at the top of a Wikipedia article, it's a warning sign. Be very careful about using it. So this is another way that librarians use Wikipedia. We use the sources and links inside the articles. In other words, when you go down to the very bottom of a Wikipedia page, you'll see references. Now I'm looking at the references here and I see a lot of what I consider credible sources. For example, number 3, French troops sent into Central African Republic in an effort to stop bloodshed, is from The Guardian, an online British newspaper that has a very high degree of credibility. So I would actually follow that link rather than using the Wikipedia article and use the Guardian article as one of my credible resources. So Now that we've covered all of these topics, it's time to test. Go to LOHSlibrary.com, click on the Research tab, click on the Assignments link, and then click on the test link for your grade and enter the password given to you by your teacher. And now, the presentation is over. Good luck on your test.